Today, the family had their picnic somewhere new. Though Shelley knows the desert well, half an hour into their journey home, the landscape looks unfamiliar.
I could tell with the weed growth that it wasn't a well-used path. And I remember this road should be well-used.
Even though she's losing her bearings, Shelley hopes she'll pick up the trail.
But I thought, well, we'll just go up this road, see if it leads to a main road that I'm used to.
But the road becomes more uneven, and it seems they're going further off the beaten track.
We went along till I came to a dry riverbed.
Take a look.
And the sides of it were pretty steep.
I don't think we can make it.
Being in a two-wheel drive truck, your only traction is your back tires.
I says, oh, I'll drive. I'll get us through there.
We'll be out of here in no time.
Hoping he can save the day, Roger takes over.
The bumper got hung up on the downside, leaving the rear wheels off the ground spinning like this.
The family truck is ill-equipped for this type of terrain and is now totally stuck in the sand.
Girls, get out.
Roger has a plan to get them out of trouble.
We gotta get some sticks and stones, put them under that wheel, and maybe we'll get some traction and get out of here.
I didn't really know what was going on at first. I figured they can get it out.
Okay.
We tried putting more rocks up under the wheels because, keep in mind, the wheels were this high off the ground because the truck was sitting like this.
We didn't have shovels, of course. We're just going out to go shooting, right?
No, stop. It's just smoking. It's gonna catch fire.
No matter what we did, we just couldn't get enough weight on those wheels.
Okay, I'll call for help.
The cell phone that we had, the battery was dead. There was no charger in the truck. I should have just stuck to my decision and says, no, we're gonna turn around here. We're not even gonna try this.
I'd gotten an earful more in that first hour than most people would generally get in a year of being newlyweds.
I'm sorry.
We had enough provisions on that particular day for one day.
With the vehicle stuck and with no way of contacting anyone, Roger knows there's only one option.
We're gonna have to stay the night.
Shelley knows just how dire their situation has become.
From the time the sun sets to the time that sun rises is very dangerous.
I only had one thing on my mind, and that was to get my girls out of that desert.
I don't really remember anybody falling asleep that night.
Armed with their skeet shooting gun, Shelley and Roger stay awake in the fear of lawless gangs of human smugglers from the Mexican border.
Them themselves have no regard for human life, and it don't even matter who it is.
It was just praying to God that the girls would be all right and they wouldn't get hurt or worse.
Relieved when the morning arrives without incident, everyone tackles the day with renewed energy.
We're encouraged, we're kind of energized to say, by gosh, we can do this.
We really thought daylight would help us so that we could see exactly what kind of situation we were in.
With the truck still stuck fast, Roger knows he's got to come up with something to get his new family home to safety.
Why don't you go play with Tiffany for a moment?
My brain started saying, Roger, you better think of something.
There was that truck we passed a while back. It may have a jack.
There was a Bronco that we had passed. The rims were gone. So we decided, well, let's at least try to get to that Bronco, see if it's got a jack in it, and then we can get started again.
It's going to be a 4-mile hike back to the Bronco. And with only 2 small bottles of water, they risk serious dehydration in the ferocious heat.
Are you sure?
I know you're told to stay with the vehicle, and I'm thinking the vehicle has AC. But if we sit there at the vehicle, we're going to be there for days. That road's untraveled.
Even at 7 in the morning, the sun is wearing them down.
We knew it was going to be hot, real hot. Not what most people in civilized countries are used to. Not your 85, 90 degrees. Try between 115 and 118 degrees.
It's particularly tough on the kids. Their lower body weight means they get dehydrated quicker.
Oh, honey.
Oh, every 20 feet, everybody's sipping water, and I'm noticing that there's only one small sports drink bottle left.
Hey, take it easy, Tiff. We gotta make it last.
With almost no water, Roger knows if he's to get his new family out of trouble, he needs to take drastic action.
You stay with them, and I'll go get help.
Y'all need to stay in the shade and just count on the fact that I'm gonna get back here, because I knew I could make a lot quicker time by myself.
It was the right decision.
I'm gonna go get us some help, and
Leaving is hard,
before you know it, I promise.
but they're miles from civilization, and he fears the kids won't be able to keep going.
I love you, girls.
Probably the toughest thing that I've ever done in my whole life.
I'll be back before you know it. All right?
Give everybody a kiss, and I started on a slow jog, actually.
He was feeling very guilty. I mean, when he walked away from us, he almost was running. And I'm thinking, you can't do this in the heat.
Roger's best chance of help is to find a main road, but he has no idea where he's going. And after just half an hour, he's feeling the effects of the 118-degree heat.
It was not so bad at first, but boy, then you realize that you'd better not be breathing through your mouth anymore, because with every breath of that hot air that you're taking in, you're losing that much moisture in your mouth.
Roger has been following the only path in the vast wilderness of the desert. Now, as he stumbles to a junction, he's faced with a choice. One way leads out, the other takes him deeper into the desert.
There's not much tire tracks. I'm thinking to myself, this definitely is not the way out.
Roger chooses the path with more tracks. With Shelley and the girls depending on him, he can only pray he's made the right decision. As Shelley waits for Roger with her kids, she fears for their survival.
I want to go home.
We were all really getting weak. You have no water. A helpless and almost a hopeless situation.
They've pinned all their hopes on Roger. But 3 miles down the road, he is totally lost.
I slowed down for a second, and I looked at the enormity of that desert. With the sun just blaring down, ruthless on your face.
With no point of reference in the endless terrain, Roger must do everything he can to keep his bearings.
My thought process is that as I find my way out, I darn well better be able to find my way back.
By mid-afternoon, with no sign of Roger, Shelley starts to feel desperate.
Maybe we should go.
What if he comes back, Mama?
We discussed it, because me and my mom are both stubborn.
I said to the girls, if he dies, if we sit right here, we'll never get help. We have got to walk.
Leaving seemed the best choice. But with the sun beating down and 2 children in tow, Shelley soon feels the strain.
Even though you're raised in Arizona and they say that your blood's thinner, a body's still a body. You still get hot.
Though exhausted, they keep walking. But their thirst is becoming unbearable.
There must be some water in there. There must.
Hours after Roger, they come to the same cattle trough that he passed earlier.
Nothing.
Just have a little rest.
I remember my top lip was stuck to my teeth and it kept driving me crazy, so I'd lick my lips. That didn't even work.
What about the cactus?
Tiffany had suggested that in her class she learned that the roots of cactus hold more water than the actual cactus.
I can feel some moisture.
Oh, I don't think so.
And you do have moisture underground. But for liquid, no.
Though the cactus roots are dry, it gives Shelley a flash of inspiration.
I have an idea.
I have always heard cactuses hold a lot of water. If I shoot it, I could probably get some liquid out of it and put in this empty Gatorade bottle.
Sit back.
There's no water. It's almost like a sawdust, like fine wood chips inside it. That's it. There is no liquid whatsoever.
Desperation sets in as they face a night in the desert without water.
That was it. We were done.
Roger knows how dangerous the desert is at night. As the day ends, he can only pray for Shelley and the girls.
I was having a one-sided conversation with Shelley.
Shelley, I'm so sorry.
Telling her that I love her and telling the kids that I love them and that they just need to hang on and believe in me and that I wouldn't let them down, you know? And just praying to God that they were still alive.
Shelley and the kids are facing their second night in the wilderness.
I mean, you're tired. You got dehydration working against you. You've got that you've been up since the night before, and now you're up another night with no sleep.
Come on, girls. We gotta walk.
Weak as they are, they need to make the most of the cooler night temperature of 85 degrees.
If we didn't make as much progress as we could that night, come the next morning, we weren't making it through the next day.
Okay, we'll take a walk, and then we'll rest a bit, okay?
As they ready themselves to go, the silence of the desert is broken.
Tiffany goes, Mom,
Shh, it's a car.
In their relief, they forget all about the dangers of the desert.
I'm like, oh, thank God. We got help. We got help.
Why didn't it stop?
Shelley feels uneasy, and more so when the car turns and faces them.
You could hear the engine just make the noise of when somebody has pushed the accelerator to the floor.
It dawns on Shelley that far from rescue, the driver is a member of one of the notorious gangs of human smugglers from the Mexican border.
Run! Tip, grab Michaela!
I don't know where this energy came from.
I was just running for my life. There was no other thoughts, just, I'm getting out of here.
I guarantee you, if you're gonna kill my kids, I will shoot you.
Shelley's bravado pays off, and at the last moment, the driver veers away.
That person did try to kill us.
Why did it turn around over?
Come here. No, don't cry.
All these things out there that could have attacked us, the mountain lions, rattlesnakes, and the only thing that messed with us was our own race. Not the wildlife, the human race.
Morning brings a return of the relentless heat, and with it, their chances of getting out alive decrease.
I knew we would not make it through the second day. I already knew that.
With no sign of help, Shelley makes a last attempt to get attention by starting a fire.
Good girl.
And the sun's getting higher and higher. I'm thinking, where in the world is Roger? He couldn't have made it.
I told you I'd come back, girls.
Roger?
What? Mom?
At last, it seems their prayers are answered.
Roger's here. I heard him.
Really, Mama? Where?
Yeah. Roger! We're here! Roger! Roger! Roger!
He ain't close to us at all. But your mind takes a vacation.
Can you hear him?
Roger, too, is showing symptoms of advanced dehydration. Lack of water stops vital impulses being sent to the brain and causes blurred vision. Now his body is giving up.
There comes a point, and this is when you really know you're in trouble. You stop sweating. Because now there's no moisture left in your body to get out of your pores.
But however tough it is, the thought of Shelley and the kids drives him on.
You think about your family. You can't give up.
At last, Roger's determination seems to have paid off.
I saw a vehicle coming right towards me. I knew that at that time of day, that was not going to be a human smuggler. I knew that. I thought everything was going to be okay then.
Finally, Roger thinks he's found the help that's going to save his family.
Thank God. I'm thirsty. My girls need help.
I hardly talk because there's no moisture, and I'm saying I need help.
Please. Agua. Agua.
What was that, amigo?
The girls are...
I think we got ourselves a genuine legal.
No.
Ain't that right, amigo?
No. Please, I'm thirsty. Thirsty.
Thirsty?
Yes.
You want a drink?
Please.
Oh, here we go. See you later, amigo!
Roger's appearance has changed so drastically that he's mistaken for an illegal immigrant.
The most helpless feeling a person could ever have in their life. And I'm like, what else? What else could happen? I knew that Shelley and those kids were running on empty out there.
Now well into their third day, the girls' chances of surviving get less with every step they take.
I kept thinking, I wonder if Roger's made it. Has he passed on? Do I need to keep walking?
Mama, I can't go on no more.
After 2 days without water, the effects of dehydration are causing the children's small bodies to shut down.
Mama, just shoot me. Please shoot me, Mama.
I really didn't want to live anymore because it was painful.
Honey.
As soon as she said that, I mean, my heart just sunk.
Come on, my sweetie. We'll do it together. Just one foot after another, okay, honey?
She just keep pushing us forward.
I knew I had to keep going. I can't lose these kids. I brought them here on Earth. I can't give up.
It's taken Roger 2 days to walk just 13 miles in the suffocating heat. Now he's losing his own battle for survival.
I didn't have anything left in my tank mentally, I think, at that point. I couldn't feel any pain or anything anymore. Everything was just starting to get like a hot numbness.
As Roger gives up all hope, yet again he sees something on the horizon.
That truck came right up the same exact path that the prior one had come, right at me.
Roger?
He'd recognize me because he's calling me by my first name right away.
Against all odds, the driver knows Roger.
And I realized that he's one of my customers from work. It was pretty cool. But very emotional.
Shelley can do nothing except watch her children die.
And watching them dehydrate, that's memories, that's images that you never forget.
Just as she's given up all hope, she hears a vehicle.
So I came up, and that's when I seen that it was the Ranger.
We got help!
So it was right there on the cusp of life and death when we actually did get the help. It was like having the weight of the world taken off your shoulders. Because I didn't have to fight no more.
Oh, my girls. You gotta get them. My girls.
But the family's ordeal is far from over.
Michaela? Michaela!
It freaked me out.
Mama! Mama! Mama!
I ran up the hill. I had no energy, but I ran up the hill.
Mama! Mama, she's not moving!
I thought, well, in the midst of trying to find somebody to help us, she'd passed away. You go from so excited, we're saved, and then thinking, I didn't do it in time. They kept trying to wake her up. They could not wake her at all.
The trauma has been too much for 5-year-old Michaela, and her kidneys have stopped working.
Not something that you want to see your kids go through, let alone be the cause of.
They had the chaplain come in and pray with us, and I'm thinking, the only time I've ever heard a chaplain coming in and somebody's in the hospital is when you're going to lose that person.
I didn't want to lose my sister. She's very important to me.
I woke up and I looked down at my arm and I had an IV in my arm. And I remember looking to the side of me and seeing my mom. I was so happy that everybody was alive.
They say a human can only last out in that desert 8 hours without water. Now, we lasted a lot longer than that. And a lot of that comes from my love for them. And the pure drive to survive.
Michaela left hospital after a week and made a full recovery. Roger and Shelley got married a year later and are still together. 25-year-old Linda Scavana is preparing to set off on an epic solo driving trip.
I had 3 weeks vacation from work. It was definitely an escape. just a time to get away from the stresses of everyday life.
A student nurse from Pittsburgh, Linda is heading off across the length of America. A trip that she hopes will satisfy her sense of adventure.
I was kind of a rebel at times, my own idea about things. You know, when you're young and 25, the world doesn't seem so dangerous. I just wanted to see America.
Linda spends 2 weeks traveling over 2,000 miles across the country. But before she heads home, she wants to make the trip extra special with a final hike into the mighty Grand Canyon.
It was one of the places that I wanted to visit because it's one of the natural wonders of the world.
The Grand Canyon is known as an epic tourist destination, but it's also a popular place for hiking.
Come on.
Before she heads off into the canyon, Linda stops off at a local store to buy postcards and let her family know that she's fine.
On one of the postcards, I saw a set of waterfalls, and I thought, oh, you know, I'd like to see those. But I wasn't sure where you leave and what kind of a hike it was.
Do you know if there are any organized tours to the waterfalls?
No organized tours as such. If you drive up to the hilltop campsite, you can make your way down to the Supai village, and the falls are right down there.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
So I wrote my postcards up, and I recall sending one off to my brother and sister-in-law.
To get to the waterfalls, Linda and Coco Jin must first drive to a staging post at the beginning of the hike.
I didn't know that it would take me as long as it did because it was, I think, maybe about 35 miles. But it was all dirt road, so it took me a couple of hours to get through that and to finally get to the hilltop.
By the time they get there, it's already lunchtime. It's late in the day to be setting off on a hike. But undeterred, Linda heads off into the valley.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, I was overwhelmed by the size and the enormity of it. It made me feel small.
Linda's backpack weighs over 20 pounds and is slowing her down.
I knew I could make better time without it because it was beginning to feel very heavy on my back.
Ditching the backpack will mean leaving behind her sleeping bag, food, and only supply of water.
I would have nothing except, you know, the clothes that I had on my back and a few items that I had in my purse.
With no experience of being out in the wild, Linda makes a terrible decision.
I thought I could always come back for it the following morning.
Coco.
My priority at that point in time was just to make it to the Indian reservation, make it somewhere safe before dark.
Hello!
But as night falls, Linda and Coco are just tiny specks in the vast canyon floor.
Is anybody there?
Yeah, I was totally alarmed with getting dark and not being where I needed to be. That was my realization that I wasn't on the right trail.
And with the light fading, Linda has no chance of retracing her steps to her backpack.
You start thinking about the worst sort of things that can happen and just kind of overcome by fear. The first night was devastating. It was very, very scary. You just can't see, other than the stars that are out. There's no artificial lighting of any kind.
As the temperature on the canyon floor plummets, Linda is totally unprotected against the cold.
In my backpack, I had my sleeping bag, and I had all my food supply and my water.
In the pitch black night, it's impossible for Linda to find her backpack.
So without that, I really had nothing to protect me from the elements and nothing to sustain me.
Her only source of comfort is her best friend, her pet dog, Coco Jin.
Coco Jin just stayed by me. I was thankful to have him because we could cuddle up with one another, and he would offer some warmth. I cried off and on, I think, the entire night, just out of fear and not knowing what was going to happen to me. I remember getting very, very hot. I was thirsty and I had nothing to eat or drink. My mouth was just terribly, terribly dry.
In these conditions, human beings need around 2 gallons of water a day.
My nurse's training told me that I needed to have water, that there was no way I was going to be able to survive without water. I knew I could live without food, but the water was going to be essential because it's so hot during the day down there. And I guess real fear set in at that point.
Coco. Come on.
If I had been completely alone without the dog, I think I would have fallen apart.
Tired? Pretty tired right now.
I would talk to him. I'm sorry I got you into this, Coco. But we'll find our way out, trying to keep positive.
But by early evening, Linda realizes she and Coco Jin are still completely lost within the vast wilderness.
I knew I was going to be down there another night.
Now able to collect a few mouthfuls of water, Linda decides to hike away from the spring in search of a trail out of the canyon.
My new plan was to drink as much water as I could before I would set off that day so I would be hydrated, and then follow a trail and see where it would possibly lead to. As long as I can retrace my steps and get back to my water supply, because I knew that that was paramount.
For 5 days, Linda searches north, south, east, and west of her base. But each day ends in crushing disappointment. After 11 freezing nights out in the wilderness, a violent storm blows into the canyon.
I built a shelter for myself in between two rocks that came out of the sand, and then I took some of the shrubbery around and built a little roof on top.
But the makeshift shelter does little to keep off the torrential rain and provides no defense against the predators lurking in the undergrowth.
As I was trying to fall asleep, I heard some rustling. I became alert and threw a handful of sand in the direction that I thought I heard the sound. And then I heard a hissing sound.
Fearful of deadly rattlesnakes hiding in the bush, Linda is forced to abandon the shelter.
It was one of the toughest nights. There was thunder and lightning and a lot of rain, and it was very frightening down there because I didn't have any shelter. I was out in the open. It was definitely cold, and definitely that was a concern, the hypothermia.
Alone, miles from civilization, Linda knows she must find the mental strength to survive.
I started to think of ways to occupy my mind, and I said a rosary, and then I started to sing songs, just something to keep me occupied, to get me through that night.
Once more, Linda is alone. But following the horses has led her to a welcome sight.
I noticed pools of water, and I remember looking at it and seeing little insects or whatever swimming around in it, and I thought, well, I don't really have any other choice except to drink it because that's the only way I'm going to survive. The water was kind of bitter, but it was wet, and I knew it would get me through another day.
As night falls, Linda drifts in and out of consciousness and is haunted by nightmares and fear.
I had started having dreams of animals coming and eating out my eyes.
Now seriously malnourished, Linda is starting to fantasize about an end to her hunger.
I began thinking about food quite a bit. And so I would kind of just sit there on a rock, you know, and think about dinner menus, writing those out in my journal. Spare ribs and potatoes au gratin, tossed salad, and cauliflower with hollandaise sauce. So kind of vicariously, I was eating through my menus that I would write. I was sitting there resting, and I decided that I was going to brush my hair. For what purpose, I wasn't sure.
Almost 3 weeks after getting lost, Linda finally hears the sound she's been yearning for.
I can hear the the wings going around. And I knew it was close.
Back in Pittsburgh, when Linda fails to arrive at work, her family finally realizes she's missing, and prompted by the postcard she sent them, they've triggered an aerial search of the canyon. It seems her ordeal is finally over. But Linda is impossible to see from the air.
It was devastating that they didn't see me, but I could figure out why.
Linda realizes that if she can't be seen from the air in the vast canyon, the chances are she'll never be found. Linda's brother and sister-in-law have now joined the search. But when they arrive at the campsite that Linda began her hike from, they're greeted with a sight that fills them with foreboding.
That's her car, right?
Yeah.
Linda's car has been broken into, but is still exactly where she left it almost 3 weeks ago.
We were told that there was virtually no chance that Linda would be alive if she were lost in the canyons. There wasn't much chance we could even find her body. We were on a gruesome kind of mission. The scary part was that all the canyons look the same. And they're not marked by anything except for an occasional old wooden sign.
They arrive at the same sign where Linda mistakenly turned right and out into the wilderness.
Which way do you think?
I don't know. Like canyon? This way. Maybe.
Linda's brother and sister-in-law turn left towards the Supai village and away from where Linda remains stranded in the canyon.
I was afraid for Linda. The chance of survival after being lost in a place like that just seems so remote.
Mentally and physically exhausted and dangerously dehydrated, Linda finally gives up all hope of ever getting out alive. Now, death is her only way out.
My priority was to find a place where I could just fall asleep and then hopefully die in my sleep. I thought, this is probably going to be it. I remember lying down and thinking, if I could maybe just die in my sleep, that would be the most peaceful way to go. I thought, you know, if I don't make it out of here, my parents will never really know what happened. My mother had lost a brother, her baby brother. And, you know, here's a woman that had gone through a lot of trauma in her younger years. And to me, that was kind of devastating to think that they would be going through that.
After 19 days, battling to stay alive, Linda finally gives up.
I heard voices. And it was almost like, is it a figment of my imagination or is it for real?
Four Native Americans from the local village had noticed footprints in an area where tourists don't venture, and using traditional tracking methods, have managed to locate Linda in the vast canyon.
You could tell by the looks on their faces that they were kind of amazed to find me alive. It was just joyous.
And waiting for her in the nearby Indian village are her brother and sister-in-law.
She looked wonderful and she looked horrible. She was skeletal looking and she was the color of bricks from the canyon soil.
It was just very emotional. It was the best feeling in the world.
The three of us just grabbed each other and put our heads together and just howled, really. You know, the tears just flowed.
But then, for Linda, the best surprise of all. The locals have also found Coco Gin, wandering lost amidst the canyon.
That was a happy reunion, too. Yeah, I was very happy. There was a lot of things that I didn't do correctly, a lot of things, and I, to this day, can't figure out why. With all the big mistakes that I made, you know, how I was able to survive.
Despite her ordeal, Linda made a full recovery and went on to get married and raise a family.
I just didn't think it was my time to go. And that stayed with me, and the persistence and the will, the strong will to survive.
Theo Rosmulder is on a long-awaited gold prospecting holiday in a remote part of Western Australia with his wife, Pauline.
Hi, love. Can I get you anything?
No, thanks, love.
Feeling lucky?
Yeah. Today might be the day.
You had your pills?
Yeah. Had them earlier. See you, love.
The treasure-hunting trip is a reward for Theo, who's recovering from triple bypass heart surgery. To survive, he needs daily medication to regulate his heartbeat, and Pauline has come along to keep an eye on him.
I don't enjoy the same enthusiasm of gold detective as Theo does, but I do go, as your good wife does. It was an eye-opener to me as to how remote and desolate Western Australian bush is. Once you'd lost sight of that caravan, you didn't go any further. You turned and came back because, I mean, you got turned around and I was lost. You know, it was very, very easy to get lost.
Back here, 5:30 then.
Yeah.
Be lucky, boys.
To be honest, if I look back, I was getting pretty cocky. I'd been out so many times by myself and thought I knew the area like the back of my hand.
The men will guide themselves back to their vehicle using the sun, as the Outback has few features to navigate by.
We're only going to go out for an hour or so at the most. We decided we weren't going to walk around any great distance. Gold fever.
Lovely.
They talk about gold fever, yeah, that's basically it. If you don't find it, it's the thought of actually finding one. And when you do, you want to find another one.
With one shiny nugget in his pocket, his prospects look good. But Theo's thirst for gold gets the better of him, and his intensive search takes him much further than he realizes.
You get that engrossed in what you're doing, you don't check to see how far you've got, and when you turn around you think to yourself, my God, have I come this far? I got myself totally disorientated to the point that I didn't know where left, right, up, down, north, east, west was. I looked around and I thought, I've been here before. You know, this area looks so familiar. But I realised that it didn't matter where I was. It all looked familiar.
Theo was in one of the world's harshest environments. A vast and featureless desert, devoid of food and water. Without a compass, and with light fading, Theo is totally lost.
How in the hell am I going to get out of this? It was getting just on dusk. I knew by then that I'd be spending a night out in the open if I didn't find my way home.
Then, in the last minutes of daylight, he stumbles on a fence, a lifeline in the middle of nowhere.
We were told that if you find a track or a fence line, if you follow it, it'll take you back to the Aboriginal community. I've got to try and work out from here which way to go.
Theo's decision may mean the difference between life and death. One way will lead him to the Aboriginal settlement and safety, but the other will take him deeper into hostile wilderness, miles from help, food, or water. Lost and alone, Theo has to make a stark choice: left or right. With night falling fast, Theo decides to take a chance.
When you're looking at a cold night, if there's an opportunity to get back to camp, you tend to grab it. I take tablets for a heart operation that I had, and I wanted to get back to make sure I took those.
You had your pills?
Had them earlier.
Theo's medication is essential to maintain a steady heartbeat, but he left his pills in camp. Missing doses can send his heart out of control and put his life in immediate danger. Back at camp, Pauline is increasingly worried.
He can nearly talk himself into palpitations if he doesn't have his tablets.
The heart wasn't doing that great. I could hear it just thumping in my head, and the more I walked, the worse it got.
Theo has bet his life on the direction he's chosen to lead him to safety. He's still ignoring the rule of the Outback, to stay where he is once lost.
I took off, followed the track. Did that for probably an hour.
But his gamble is about to fail.
I heard a motorbike, and I sat up and looked out to where the noise was, and I could see somebody. I started running towards the headlights and waving and yelling and screaming. The motorbike was too loud and they couldn't hear any yells or anything that was going on, and they just kept going, and I lost sight of them. I just couldn't believe it. That's when I knew I was going to be spending the night out in the open. That's when I knew I was in trouble.
Theo knows what a night exposed to the outback will bring.
Bloody idiots.
I thought, this is it. I know my energy levels were dropping dramatically because I had no fat to burn whatsoever. I mean, I've only been out of hospital for 12 months. Finally got to the outcrop of rock.
Camouflaged against the scrub in his pale clothes, Theo's best chance of being seen is to find high ground.
I heard an engine going. And saw a plane flying around, and I realised that everybody's out looking for me.
Hey! Here! Yo! Hey! Hey! Oh, you beauty. Hey! Theo!
A spotter plane is heading straight for Theo. He's certain rescue is just moments away.
I figured from what I've seen on TV, if he saw me, he'd sit there and he'd make the wings go side by side. Figure, oh, well, I'll look for that if that's the case. Didn't see me. I just said, oh, well, they'll see me the second time. The second time he flew over, I was waving and yelling and whatnot.
idiot! Bloody.
Despite flying directly overhead, the pilot failed to spot Theo against the scrub. It's a crushing blow. There are dozens of people looking for him, but he's never felt so alone.
Well, I called him every name under the sun. Yelled, screamed, threw rocks at him. Just couldn't believe that here I was out in the middle of nowhere, sitting on an outcrop of rock, and he couldn't see me.
Theo's situation suddenly worsens. Now, his body, weakened by his recent heart surgery, reacts to the frustration and physical strain of his ordeal. Just a year earlier, Theo's operation involved removing veins from his legs and grafting them onto his heart to pump blood more effectively. Medication regulates the blood flow, but without it, Theo's heartbeat can swing wildly out of control. He's at critical risk of heart failure.
I had visions of, grafts being blown off.
Theo Rossmulder has been lost in the outback for more than 24 hours. Rescue planes have failed to spot him, and lacking vital medication, his heartbeat is now dangerously irregular.
The heart was going haywire, and I have to wait for it to calm down. I just hope the old ticker holds up, because the way it's thumping and bumping, it's not doing real well. With my battery on the detector, I knew it still had a bit of power in it. And I thought, well, if I could get the battery apart and wire up the batteries to actually spark. And have some bark there where I could actually try and get it going. Wired it all up so that they spark when I put the two wires together. I might be able to get a fire going.
Planes have been flying overhead every hour, but so far failed to spot him. Building a fire might be his only hope of being seen.
I'd put a lot of effort, probably most of Sunday afternoon, and I was putting all my hopes into that. The stuff that I wanted to light just didn't come to life, just didn't happen. I was totally disgusted that I'd wasted a good battery on an effort that didn't work.
As the second night falls, his chances of survival are fading fast. He again ignores the rules to stay in one place and continues to wander in the hope of finding the fence. But the more he walks, the more disoriented he starts to become.
I didn't have any actual sense of which way I was actually going to. I was walking away from where I was lost and not staying in the same area. I was in so much pain that it was starting to get unbearable. stomach cramps. I was starting to think I wasn't going to survive. So thoughts of the wife, kids, friends were certainly coming into your mind. I was thinking I was going to die, so I might as well write notes to everybody on the back of this oxidised piece of tin, which I did. This is my last message. Haven't got any energy left, and just carried on from there. I love you all. Trying to explain, more so to my wife, that it was my fault that I was there. Because I told her I was bloody stupid. Yeah, and it shouldn't have happened. Religion becomes very, very strong.
Dear God, can you help us out, mate? If you see me out of this, I'll see you right, I promise.
What I'd planned on doing was basically crawling into the hole and bricking the front of it up. You know, I just didn't want to be a dog's dinner, basically. I was prepared to die. I knew I didn't have much time left. I heard a motorbike going off in the distance, and I looked over and I could see this motorbike, and I thought, "Oh, you're seeing things." I thought, "No, you're going crazy." You know, it's not there. You know, you've seen things before, and that's just not there. But I kept watching it. I was looking at something that I couldn't see, but it was there, and it pulled up. It wasn't right there in front of me. I either sit here and hope that he drives up close, or I start walking, like I've been doing for the whole week. It hadn't done me any good, but by God, I could walk. I started waving, but I mean, it was taking such an effort to even stand up and wave.
On the verge of death, Theo has narrowly missed another rescue opportunity.
I'm going to turn around and go back. That was it. If I was going to die, that was the place I was going to die. I'd picked it. As soon as I could see them, that they knew where I was, I basically just collapsed on the ground. It was just a feeling of utter enjoyment. The emotions were going through that, you know, it's finished. That the thought of dying's not going to happen. All the plans that I had of, you know, going into the cave and letting nature take its course just wasn't going to happen. And, you know, those guys, they're the best looking bunch of blokes I'd ever seen.
Rescuers found a fresh set of Theo's prints, and the Aborigines were finally able to track him down.
Can't explain it. It was just a huge relief. It was, oh, thank God.
After 5 days in the outback, Theo Rosmulders suffered from severe dehydration and lost some 35 pounds. Yet his heart survived the ordeal without major complications. He now knows that had he stayed put on day one, he would likely have been found within hours.
I thank everybody involved for the effort they put in. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And like I've been telling people the whole way through, if you get lost, stay put. I mean, once you move away from where you're actually lost, you are lost. And it could cost you your life.